Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you can guesswork. Please guys participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a woman talking to a man about doing a gap year on a sailing ship called the Solana. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello, this is the A+ World Academy. How can I help you?
Hello, my name is Marcia Vine, and I'm calling from New York. I'm interested in having my daughter enroll for a year sailing on the Sorlana.
How old is your daughter? Students of the World Academy are between the ages of 16 and 19.
She just turned 16, so she would be 17 if she enrolls for next year.
So, would she be looking at year 11 or 12 of high school?
I'm not sure. She's in year 10 now, so I suppose we would be looking at year 11 if she went next year. But I'm also open to her doing it in year 12 instead.
We still have places open for the next year. What information would you like?
Well, I've had a quick look at the website, but I thought I would call to get an idea of how it all works.
Where did you hear about us? Just for our records, we keep data on how people learn about our services.
Of course, actually, it was my daughter who told me about it, so word of mouth.
Okay, A+ World Academy is a unique type of boarding school. 60 international students attend high school at sea on the oldest fully rigged sailing ship in the world. The Solana is a 90-year-old Norwegian tall ship. The students learn to sail the ship while they are studying and travel to 20 port cities over the year.
Where does it go?
The route changes slightly each year, but the Solana sails around Europe in the North Sea and the Mediterranean and across the Atlantic to ports in North and South America. Is your daughter interested in the 1 or 2-year course?
I think 2 years at sea might be a bit much. She told me it was just for 1 year.
Students can spend the first year on the ship, and if they qualify academically after that, the second year is land-based.
In Norway?
No, the land-based part of the course has students traveling to 6 countries around the world with place-based learning experience.
I think we are probably just looking at 1 year. What are the fees for the school?
The Solana Foundation, which owns the school, is not for profit, so fees are kept to a minimum. The cost for 1 year, which includes tuition, accommodation and food, is €60,000. There is a €150 application fee on top of that.
Wow, but I suppose it is for a year. Do those costs cover everything?
On the website, you can see detailed cost for extras. They are hard to predict because they vary from port to port. But not included in the fee are transfer costs to Norway, travel insurance, visas, the uniform, sailing gear, phone costs, and pocket money. Without the flight to Norway and pocket money, extras are usually around €1,500.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Can you tell me something about the tuition? Is it compatible with the U.S. education system?
The academic year is from August to June. We offer advanced placement or AP courses. AP has a program developed in the US by the College Board, which offers college-level curricula and examinations to high school students. AP is a globally recognized academic program currently offered in secondary schools in over 100 countries around the world. It's also compatible for students who take their year in the second last year of high school, like your daughter would.
Will she spend most of her time working on the ship? When will she have time for lessons?
There are between 4 to 6 hours of class each day, like a normal school. Over the course of the year, classroom instruction is for about 900 hours, all taught in English. We usually have around 60 students and 10 teachers, as well as captain and crew.
What would she be doing the rest of the time?
Students get mandatory maritime training, and she would have to take part in the ship's night watches as part of the mariner crew and do all the scrubbing, cleaning, and sharing the duties on board. She will develop life skills such as leadership, resilience, accountability, and teamwork. Probably the toughest thing she will have to deal with on board is that there is no Wi-Fi. There's nothing unless we are in a port.
Yes, that will be challenging. Thank you. I'll talk to my daughter and husband and get back to you.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a radio program in which the presenter is interviewing Mark Reynolds, the organizer of a food festival. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello, Mark Reynolds. Thank you for coming in today. I hear the street food festival that you organize is on again this year. Fill us in on why this festival is so popular.
This will be the 5th year we've held it, and it has just grown in popularity every year. People can come into the city on a warm evening and wander around the different stalls to decide what they want to eat. We have street food from 35 different countries, all cooked instantly before your eyes. It is fresh, fun, and delicious. What is there not to love?
What happens if it rains?
Fingers crossed, that won't happen very often. But if it rains, there will still be a small number of stalls that'll move under the cover of the bandstand. We've decided to do that this year so that people can be sure that they get something to eat if they are making their way into the city, and it's unclear if it's going to be cancelled or not. Last year people saw cloudy skies and didn't make the trip, but in the end, it often didn't rain anyway.
When and where does it all start?
For reasons of space, we've moved from the main city square this year. It starts next week in Queen Victoria Park, just a few steps from the Queen Vic Underground station. Stalls open at 6:30, so it starts early enough to take your kids along for the evening, and everything closes at midnight. It's on 7 days a week for the whole month. But it's not just city folk who are coming in for the evening. Foodies and chefs from all over the country and even from abroad are having food holidays here, trying out all the different flavours and getting ideas for their own cooking.
What's your favorite part of the festival?
The smell is just wonderful. It lingers for more than a block from the park, and it just draws you in. Most people like the fact that they can come back night after night and have a different dining experience. With so many stalls and so much choice, it's great for them to know that it's open for a whole month, so they can try as many different cuisines as they want.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Tell us about the food that is on offer.
The most popular stand, without fail, is the Chinese stall, where they serve steamed pork buns. They are a kind of soft, steamed bread with barbecued pork and a sweet sauce. A lot of people have a pork bun as a starter as they are walking around, and then decide on their main meal. I have been told they are very addictive, and may be the reason many people come to the festival night after night. So that everyone is able to enjoy them, this year the stand is adding a vegan version of them. The colourful Mexican stand uses completely fresh ingredients, and all their dishes are made on site. They also have quite a show when a mariachi band arrives and performs every night at around 8 o'clock. It draws quite a crowd. The Spanish paella is always a great show to watch. They make it in an enormous pan as big as a table. You can have a wonderful dish of rice and seafood cooked in the typical Spanish way. They have 3 or 4 pans going at once with different flavours. The Scottish stand has haggis, which is a traditional food made from the innards of a sheep, which might not be to everyone's taste. People who aren't feeling so adventurous with spices and ingredients can have typical British barbecued food, which includes salads and baked potatoes. We are trying to attract people with all tastes. And who knows, people who've never eaten this kind of food before may be completely unable to resist the incredible exotic smells and try something new. The greatest number of the stands are from Asia, the continent that specializes in street food, and we add more and more Asian countries to our lineup every year. We want to encourage as much diversity as possible, so of course there is plenty of food from the Americas, Africa, Europe and Oceania as well.
It sounds like the only problem with going to the street food festival is deciding what food to eat.
Exactly.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You hear 2 students, Mandy and Rupert, talking to their tutor about a website they are designing. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hello, Mandy and Rupert. Well, here we are again. The material you brought to me last week was very incomplete, so I hope you have managed to bring something a bit better this week.
We hope so. This assignment is quite difficult, and because I have a new computer, we are still learning the software. So we still have the same idea for the project, but we have tried bringing it to life a bit more.
Well, website design is an intrinsic part of this graphic design course. I am sorry if I came over as extra tough last week, but I was so disappointed with the layout.
I think it was because we ran out of time. This week, we've really put ourselves completely into it, and I hope you'll be more pleased with the outcome. It's the same concept for a website for a hairdresser, because we still think this is a good idea, but this time we have added a lot of pages. The hairdresser has actually been really helpful. Here's the homepage.
Ah, that is much more visually pleasing. What did you do to change it so much?
We took your advice and went back to talk to the client. Actually, sitting in the salon with her was really useful. We spent a few hours with her, saw the kind of work she did for customers, and had a good look at the decor and the ambience of the place. She had told us over the phone that she wanted a trendy website, but once we got to the salon, we saw our idea of trendy and hers was much different.
The decor was very natural, with light-colored wood and soft lighting. We sat down with her and put together a color ideas book on the tablet, using images that she showed us on social media. That gave us something to work with when we got home.
It's very interesting that you have learnt not just to listen to what the client says, but paid her a visit and asked her exactly what she wants. This image on the homepage is looking very good. Where does it come from?
It's a photo I took of the salon when I was there. I put it through a few filters and came up with this.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Yes, the pages are looking good. And this time you do have more information on the contacts page. There is a map at the bottom right. Very nice. I see you have added a price list. Good, though it probably shouldn't be on the contacts page. So the contacts are the address and phone number on the left. Perhaps you could give the name of the hairdresser too. Oh, you need to add the hours of the salon. That's important.
Oh yes, they're going in the space above the contacts. Now on this page, we have added some images that the client gave us of hairstyles and colors she has done. And if you click this button here, there are photos of weddings that she has done hair and makeup for.
Rather than having to go to the weddings from that page, why not have a separate link in the index for weddings? The photos have been professionally done, so they do look good.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Now, Rupert, I know you weren't very enthusiastic about doing this project when it was assigned to you, and it was quite clear last week that you had left Mandy to do most of the work. Mandy, has he stepped up a bit more since we last spoke?
Yes, he's been on the project 100% this week.
I'm glad to hear that. Rupert, you need to learn that in the world of graphic design, it would be very unusual if all the projects you had to work on were projects you were interested in. The key is to become involved whether you want to or not.
Yes, I understand that now. You know, the more I've worked on this, the more interested I've become. I have learned my lesson.
Okay, so have you shown the website to the client yet?
We wanted you to see it first. Do you approve us sending her a link to it today?
Yes, of course. But make sure you tell the client that this is not the final product and she can add or change anything she wishes. For example, make sure she is happy with the typeface. Also, I'm not sure if it is a good idea to have music on the site. Some people find it a bit off-putting. So I will see you next week and you can tell me what the client's reaction is. Thank you for coming in.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a part of a lecture about interest rate. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Since the beginning of the global financial crisis more than 10 years ago, the developed world has remained in an ultra-low interest rate void. Economists are searching for a way out, but now there may not be one. The U.S. economy appeared to be on the path towards more normal interest rates and growth, even though they had become more cautious stepping into 2020. Japan and Europe did not look to be improving anytime soon, and even the incredible expansion that was being witnessed in the case of China was slowing under the pressure of a U.S. trade war. Then the world economy came to a complete halt with the COVID-19 virus shutdowns in a way which has never been witnessed. Production came to a halt, ports were closed, and stock markets plummeted. 10 years after the worst of the crisis appeared to pass in 2019, banks and policymakers were shocked that despite the great steps they had taken to kickstart their economies, normal growth settings would probably not be seen for many years to come. Central banks had tried to get things moving, but even before COVID-19, any time there was the hint of a slight tweak upwards in interest rates, the stock markets reacted negatively, forcing the banks to back off. If central banks try to normalize their monetary settings now, it could risk an even greater crisis. The big question is, will interest rates ever rise again? Are we to expect the current situation to continue as a type of new normal? From the beginning of the century, the very nature of world industries was reshaped by new technology. 30 years ago, the world's biggest companies were mainly fossil fuel energy and motor vehicle manufacturers. Now, the majority are tech companies and banks. The top tech companies, like Amazon, do not require huge capital investments and large workforces like the 20th century industries did. As a result, until very recently at least, savings rates in the developed world had increased, but the demand for capital investment and human resources decreased. In the wake of COVID-19, however, any expectation of unchanging interest rates and high levels of savings is no longer secure, and only time will tell what form the world economy will take in the coming years. Pre-COVID-19, it was believed that the demographic and technological shifts that had been occurring over the previous decade may have permanently set interest rates at levels never previously experienced. Of course, globalization and the lowered cost of imported manufactured products was also another factor when trying to figure out why the world economy seemed to be slowing down. Now, the very existence of globalization is under threat. There are some who believe that the developed world's economies would have slowed down anyway, regardless of whether the 2008 financial crisis had occurred. It seems we may be able to blame something else on the baby boomers apart from climate change. Baby boomers are the generation born between 1946 and 1964, and they have the largest savings, home ownership, and spending power of any of the generations. The oldest segment of baby boomers, those born in the first 10 years after the Second World War, were just starting to enter retirement when the economic crisis occurred. The rest of them, and some older ones who remained in the workforce to recoup capital losses from the crash, will have retired by the end of the decade. This means that they have had to become even more diligent savers in order to finance the years they will not be working. They have been a particularly productive segment of society. Economically speaking, it was probably more down to luck than anything. They were just born at the right time. They grew up in the post-war period of high growth and economic stability. There were few problems to stop this prosperity for them as they moved into the workforce, except perhaps the fuel crisis in the 1970s. During the 1990s, they reached their peak earning period in a time of prosperity and were well positioned to stake their savings in the technological boom. Each month now, until 2031, more and more of them will be going into retirement. As baby boomers retire, we should expect wide-ranging effects. As retirees, not only will they no longer contribute taxes, but they will be spending less, which is not a good recipe for economic growth. Before the recession of 2008, a retiree could invest their savings in the money market and get a 3 to 4% annual return on their investment. Now they would be lucky to get 0.75%. This means that the wealth of the baby boomers is going to dwindle during their retirement. Add to that a growing life expectancy, meaning they will need to support themselves for a longer period, and the amount of these savings that will have disappeared during the COVID-19 crisis, the outlook is not looking so good. Many baby boomers may end up living in poverty at the end of their lives. There are so many unknowns ahead of us economically in light of the current crisis. It is no longer easy to speculate.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.